All right, ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Well, today we're diving into the Rigveda.
Wow, one of the oldest texts, right?
It is. It's one of humanity's oldest, so this is going to be fun. We've got some excerpts from an article called The Invisible World of the Rigveda by Caley Charles Smith to help guide us through this. Now, the Rigveda, just to kind of set the scene here a little bit, it's a collection of over 1,000 poems.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in Vedic Sanskrit. So think of it kind of like ancient prayers, offerings to the gods, hoping for good fortune. But we're not just going to be looking at the words themselves today. We're
Okay.
going to try to experience the Rigveda the way that it was originally intended as a performance.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So get ready because we're going to be uncovering some secrets about poetry, ritual, and maybe even a little bit about the universe itself.
Okay, I'm ready.
You know, it's amazing how the Rigveda can be seen from so many different perspectives.
You can.
I mean, for many
Yeah.
Hindus, it's this sacred text, almost like a divine revelation.
Nice.
But for scholars, it's like a historical document, giving us a peek into an ancient culture.
Yeah, it's like we're looking through two windows into the same fascinating room.
Exactly. And we're going to be trying to look through both today. Smith, in the article, he talks about the challenge of translating the Rigveda, especially, I think, when it comes to that performance aspect of it.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it?
It really is. It's like trying to describe the feeling you get from your favorite song just by reading the lyrics on paper.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. You can't really capture the rhythm, the intonation, the kind of emotional impact of the live performance just from a translation. Think about, for example, the poetic imagery that's used in the Rigveda. Smith actually uses this great example from Rigveda I.22.14 AB,
Okay.
where poets are being described as fires that consume, like, cosmic milk with their poetry.
Okay, so I have to ask.
Yeah.
If you don't understand anything about the Vedic rituals, the significance of fire
Right.
as the sacred element, how would that image make any sense?
It wouldn't. It would just sound bizarre.
It would. Yeah, it'd be totally out of context.
Yeah, it's like trying to understand a stand-up comedian's jokes without knowing anything about what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
You'd miss all the references.
You would. All the nuance would be lost.
Totally. And then there's this idea of what Smith calls passive polysemy.
Okay.
So imagine a word like light, right? It could refer to, literal brightness.
Yeah.
But it can also symbolize, knowledge or hope.
Right.
And in the Rigveda, words have kind of accumulated these layers of meaning
Yeah.
over, generations of this oral tradition.
So they're almost like,
Like a palimpsest.
yeah, or like
Yeah.
a word picking up new shades of meaning
Exactly.
over time.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just inheriting these multiple meanings, passively. The Rigveda is kind of actively playing with these multiple meanings too.
It is.
Smith calls that active polysemy.
I like that.
So it's like the poets are kind of creating these amazing word puzzles.
They're like riddles almost.
They are riddles, yeah, for us to kind of solve and unpack.
Yeah.
He points to Rigveda X.29.1 as a good example of this, where the poet very skillfully uses this wordplay to praise both Indra and Agni, or two very important gods, without actually ever coming out and saying who is superior.
Right. Because it leaves that ambiguity.
It does. It leaves it open to interpretation.
Yeah. And what's even more interesting is that this double meaning could also be like a subtle tribute to the poet's patron, adding like yet another layer.
They're layer to this whole
Yeah, exactly. So you've got these layers of interpretation all intertwined, and it just creates this incredibly rich tapestry,
I love that. It's like one of those magic eye pictures
Yeah.
where you have to kind of look at it just right to see the hidden image.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's asking us to engage with the text, like actively.
To really dig in and find those hidden depths.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Yeah.
And that leads us to this technique called metalepsis,
Okay.
where the Rigveda kind of breaks the fourth wall
Oh, interesting.
and blurs the lines between the, mythological story that's being told and the actual performance of the text itself.
Okay, so give me an example. How does that work?
Right. So it's like the actor on a stage suddenly turns to the audience
Yeah.
and asks, well, what do you think is going to happen next?
Right.
So it's a way of drawing the audience into the experience.
Yeah.
And making these ancient myths feel, present and relevant.
It breaks down that barrier, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Smith actually uses this example of Rigveda X.10, which is a dialogue between Yama and Yami, who are like the first humans.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And the way that plural forms are used in that hymn suggests that there's this audience that's present.
Yeah.
Even though, in the myth itself, it's just these two characters.
Yeah.
So what that means is that the performer, the person who is reciting this hymn, is embodying Yama.
Oh, okay. I see.
And they're speaking directly to the audience.
Okay.
And sharing this knowledge of, the first day of humanity. It's really powerful.
It is. I mean, it's like time travel through storytelling.
It is.
You're right.
That's a great way to put it.
And that connection to the past, to the transmission of knowledge, that actually leads us to another fascinating aspect of the Rigveda,
Okay.
which is this concept of ring composition.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
So imagine you're reading like a mystery novel, right?
Yeah.
There's the central mystery that's surrounded by all these clues and events that build tension
Okay. Yeah.
and eventually lead to a resolution.
So the structure of the poem is mirroring the order that it's trying to reveal.
Yeah. It's not just the content, but the way that the content is structured and presented.
Good.
The central mystery in a Rigvedic hymn is what Smith calls the omphalos, which is like the navel or the heart of the poem. Okay, yeah.
And it's often surrounded by this ring composition. He gives this example of Rigveda I.1005.
Okay.
Where the central mystery is this cosmic vision that brings like order out of chaos and that reflects the cyclical nature of both the universe and society.
So the Rigveda is like a cosmic mystery novel unfolding in sound and rhythm.
That's a great way to think about it.
Now, to see how all of these invisible elements, the polysemy, the metalepsis, the ring composition, how they all work together,
Yeah.
we have to dive into Rigveda X.135. This hymn is just a treasure trove of symbolism and layered meanings.
Oh, cool.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Lead the way.
Okay. So, walk me through this hymn. What's happening here?
So it starts with a son who is witnessing his father's journey into the afterlife,
Okay.
which is this realm ruled by Yama, the first mortal to die.
Right.
But here's the thing. The son, he can't actually see the chariot
Okay.
that's supposed to carry his father.
Yeah.
And the chariot isn't made of wood or wheels.
Right.
It's made, get this, it's made with the mind.
The chariot of the mind.
Yeah.
That's a pretty wild concept.
It is.
How does that fit into the bigger picture of this hymn?
Well, Smith suggests that this inability to see the chariot, it kind of symbolizes a type of cultural amnesia.
Okay.
Like the son hasn't grasped the true meaning of these rituals.
Right.
The ancient wisdom that's been passed down from one generation to the next.
So it's not just a physical journey.
No.
It's a journey of understanding,
Of understanding.
of inheriting the knowledge of the ancestors.
Exactly.
Okay. But how does this invisible chariot make that journey possible?
Well, the chariot itself, Smith argues, represents those funeral rites.
Okay.
The process of ensuring that the father's existence continues in the afterlife.
Yeah.
You remember how we talked about the Rigveda being all about this exchange of gifts?
Yes.
So the son, by performing those rituals, is offering a gift to his father.
Right.
And in return, he receives. Well, that's where the riddle comes in.
Of course. Gotta have a good riddle, right? So what's the mystery that we're trying to figure out here?
Okay, so the poet kind of breaks the fourth wall again.
Right.
He directly addresses the audience, and he asks, who created the sun?
Okay.
Who set the chariot in motion? Who knows what that counter gift was?
So we're being challenged to try and solve this puzzle along with the audience in the poem. Okay, I'm in. What is this counter gift?
Okay, so the poem describes it as having a tip, a foundation, and an exit.
Okay.
And that language could be talking about a chariot, the process of childbirth, or even, and this is interesting, the structure of the poems themselves. It's really ambiguous.
It really is.
It's forcing us to really think about this exchange.
The Rigveda doesn't shy away from that complexity, does it?
Not at all.
Yeah.
And I think in this case, the countergift is the continuity of tradition itself.
Okay.
Remember how the son was worried about his father's journey into the afterlife?
Right.
Well, the hymn resolves that by showing how the son, through ritual and remembrance, ensures that his father continues to exist among the ancestors.
It makes me think about how, we try to keep our loved ones alive in our own memories,
Yeah,
even after they're gone. It's a powerful way of looking at legacy, isn't it?
it really is.
Yeah.
And it's closely tied to the idea of rebirth.
Okay.
That's so central to the Rigveda. Now, we're not talking about reincarnation,
Okay.
like how we might understand it today. It's more about a father being reborn in his son.
Oh, interesting.
So as long as the songs and rituals are remembered, the ancestors live on.
It gives the Rigveda this sense of urgency and purpose, doesn't it?
It does.
They're not just pretty poems. They're a way of preserving that wisdom
Exactly.
of previous generations.
And the final verse of this hymn drives that point home in a really stunning way.
Okay.
We're taken to Yama's realm, and the poet describes Yama's seat, his pipe.
Wait, his pipe. Is Yama just like chilling and smoking in the afterlife?
Well, Smith proposes that the pipe might actually be a metaphor for the performer's voice.
Whoa.
So the poet, by embodying Yama, becomes this conduit
Okay.
for the voices of the ancestors, bringing them back to life.
Through the power of song.
Yeah.
Wow, that gives me chills. It's like the Rigveda itself is this chariot
It is.
carrying the voices of the ancestors across time.
Across millennia.
We're not just reading these poems, we're participating in a tradition that's thousands of years old.
It is really quite amazing, isn't it?
It is. It's incredible that these poems, composed so long ago, still have the power to connect us to the past in such a real way.
Yeah.
What does all of this mean for us today, though? I mean, we're bombarded with information all the time. How can the Rigveda help us make sense of it all? It's almost like we can look to the Rigveda as this guide for how to handle this information overload that we have today.
Yeah, I mean, the Rigveda's focus on passing down this knowledge through poetry and ritual really gets me thinking about the ways that we do the same thing in our lives today.
Right.
Think about family traditions.
Yeah.
Those recipes that are passed down
Right.
through generations.
Yeah.
Or even the music that we share with our loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all, chariots in a way
They are.
that are carrying the voices of our ancestors and shaping who we are.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way before.
Yeah.
But that makes a lot of sense.
That's like we're all part of this chain that connects us to something much bigger than ourselves.
And that's the real magic of the Rigveda, isn't it?
It
It's
will.
not just some old poems that are collecting dust.
No.
It's a living tradition that shows us how powerful language and ritual are.
Right.
And the bonds between the generations.
Yeah, it's something that can still speak to us across all these years.
It can.
Thousands of years.
Absolutely. And when we understand those invisible elements, like the polysemy,
Yeah.
the metalepsis.
The ring composition.
Yeah.
It really helps us appreciate the artistry of the Rigveda and its impact. It blurs the lines between the past and present,
Yeah, it does.
myth and reality,
Yeah.
inviting us into this world where poetry is this force that can transform and connect us.
Well said. I want to give a huge thanks to Caley Charles Smith for all of this.
Yeah,
I mean, he really shed light on some amazing aspects of the Rigveda.
he did.
And to you, our listeners, thank you for joining us for another deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
We hope this inspired you to explore the Rigveda
Yeah,
a little more and see what treasures you can uncover yourselves.
I hope so.
Now, as you go out there and explore, here's something to think about.
Okay.
What are the chariots in your own life?
Yeah, think about that.
The things that carry those stories, the memories, the values that make you who you are today? And then what are you going to pass on?
Yeah, what will you pass on?
To the next generation?
That's a great question to think about.
It is. All right, until next time, everybody, keep exploring and stay curious.